In the United States, the Constitution promises every person accused of a crime has the right to a speedy trial.
But here in South Carolina, that right has no clear timeline, with dozens of Charleston and Berkeley County inmates remaining behind bars for years while waiting on their day in court.
So this evening, Live 5 investigates, uncovers the human cost of all of that delay.
Investigative reporter Emily Johnson shows us how many inmates are still waiting to go to trial.
Zarmel Polite and Marquel Myers, two men who were charged in the 2019 murder of 22-year-old Clifford Harrison Jr. In the years that followed, the two were in and out of jail for months at a time, waiting for their day in court.
It's like really watching your life pass you by, and you're just standing there.
And finally getting that day in March of this year, both stood inside a Charleston County courtroom.
My life is in their hands, so that's something scary too. Yeah, I can't even process it.
The victim's mother was the state's main witness, testifying that she saw two men with dreadlocks before the gunshots, and they drove off in a red car the night of the shooting. But defense lawyers pointed out there was no murder weapon, no bullets, no video, no cell phone locations, and no one identifying the men by name or face.
They did not investigate hardly at all to be able to determine how that happened, what happened. They slapped together a few pieces of random evidence and said, this is good enough.
No, it wasn't fair. That's the easy answer to that. That wasn't fair.
And a judge found both Polite and Myers not guilty of the crime 5 years later.
This is a type of case that absolutely should never have been brought to trial.
It's almost insanity to be accused of something and then have to wait that long of a time to be brought upon the charges to a courtroom to get found not guilty on the charge like that.
And a lot can change in 5 years.
I had a son on the way when I got arrested, or when my bond got revoked. I had a son on the way, and he didn't make it. He was almost here.
You know, I missed out on a lot of things. I missed out on, like, my children's birth.
But how many inmates are just like Polite and Myers, waiting for years to be found guilty or not? Samuel Graham was placed inside the Charleston County Detention Center in 2019 during Donald Trump's first term in the White House, and he has not left the facility since. 2020 was the height of the COVID pandemic. 4 Charleston inmates have called the facility home since. Joe Biden became the president of the United States in 2021, and 30 inmates have been held inside either the Charleston or Berkeley County detention centers since.
It's sad to see that somebody's been sitting in there since 2019. That just shouldn't happen.
Under the Constitution, the Sixth Amendment protects against undue delay in criminal prosecution and states the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial. But is that right granted to those accused of crimes here in South Carolina? Not automatically. You have to ask for it and wait for the courts to decide. And do you feel like you were granted a right to a speedy trial?
No, ma'am. I feel like that right was literally violated.
I feel like my rights were violated, most definitely, in multiple ways.
Anyone can request a speedy trial in the state system. Anyone can do it. It's just a question of whether they can get him to trial that quickly.
Attorney and former prosecutor Frank Cornley explains that in the Palmetto State, a motion for a speedy trial can speed up a case if approved. And a case can be dismissed over a speedy trial violation if requested and proven to be violated. To prove the right to a speedy trial was violated, 4 things are weighed in a balancing test: the length of the delay, government's reason for the delay, how the defendant asserted the right, and the prejudice suffered by the defendant.
So they have to request it. People sit in jail for that long probably because there's not evidence back from SLED or some other agency, and they're waiting on that.
40 other states define how many days or months can pass before trial. In Florida, for example, the deadlines are 90 days for misdemeanors and 175 days for felonies. South Carolina, North Carolina, and West Virginia do not have an explicit Speedy Trial Act.
That's why we have the need for a speedy trial and the need to get these cases moved a little quicker, especially when people are sitting at the Alcanna Detention Center for a year or two.
In February, we brought you an investigation into our state's court backlog with thousands of criminal cases still pending years after crimes were committed.
And I'm hoping from January to July, we're going to see room on our dockets to add things.
6 months later, there was a small improvement in the total number of cases here in Charleston, but Berkeley County now has 200 more cases than before.
If you're going to arrest someone and you're going to accuse them of a crime, it shouldn't take 5 years to get this person in the courtroom.
Does it make you lose faith in the way that the system operates as a whole?
Yes. A lot of people's constitutional rights are being violated dealing with the Charleston County court system right now.
Ninth Circuit solicitor Scarlett Wilson denied an on-camera interview with us for this story, but did provide a statement that reads in part, most defendants do not want a speedy trial. Relatively speaking, it is rare for a defendant to ask for a speedy trial. The law does not define what a speedy trial is, and when defendants do seek a speedy trial, the circuit court judges make sure a determination of when the trial should be held is stated. She also stated that she is hopeful that new local forensic labs will further speed up getting cases to trial. For Live 5 Investigates, I'm Emily Johnson.